Let me tell you about the day my life changed forever. It started so normally. I was just coming back from the supermarket, my arms full of groceries for my son, and it turned into the beginning of the worst battle I could ever imagine. I walked into my own house to find my clothes, my entire life really, my memories, just piled in the hallway like they were trash. And there she was, my daughter-in-law Valerie, hanging her designer dresses in my closet, humming a little tune. When I asked her what on earth she was doing, she just turned and gave me this cold, triumphant smile. You know, in that one moment, something inside me just snapped. It wasn't my heart, not really, it was my patience. That lifelong habit of smiling and nodding when I was being walked all over. And a voice came out of me that I didn't even recognize. For the first time since she'd moved in, I saw genuine fear in her eyes. So you have to be asking, how does it get to this point? How does a mother get pushed so far? Well, to really get it, we've got to go back to the beginning. And I have a feeling that many of you listening are going to hear parts of your own story in mine. Because haven't we all loved someone so much that we kind of forgot to love ourselves? It didn't happen overnight. It was a slow invasion, really. A series of small concessions that, as these things often do, started with a wedding. Valerie had to have her dream day. You know the kind. The grand hotel, flowers flown in from who knows where. And my son, Samuel, he promised her the world. A dream that cost me $18,000. Nearly half of everything I'd saved my entire life. Then, right after, their apartment deal mysteriously fell through. So of course, they moved into my house for just a little while. That little while turned into them systematically erasing me. My burgundy curtains, my late husband's favorite, gone. Family photos, boxed up and put in the attic. Pretty soon, I was just Samuel's mom who lives with us, a guest in my own home. But the final straw was my pearl necklace, a gift from my husband that means the world to me. She just lent it out to a friend, didn't even ask. But as awful as Valerie was, that wasn't the worst pain. No. The thing that cut me to the absolute core was the betrayal I discovered from my own son. A betrayal I overheard whispered through the thin walls of my own house. One night, I just couldn't sleep. You know that feeling? And I heard them talking in the next room. So I crept closer to the wall, and I pressed my ear against it. And I heard Valerie, cool as you please, laying out her plan. A plan to have me declared mentally unfit just so they could take control of everything I had. I just stood there, my heart pounding, waiting, praying, just begging for my son to say, no, to say, that's crazy, we would never do that. But he didn't. That was his reply. You're right, I'll think of something. And in that second, something inside me just died. My faith that blood was thicker than money. My belief that I had raised a good, decent man. It was all gone. I mean, let's just lay it all out. I'd given him everything. $18,000 for a wedding I couldn't even really afford. I gave them my home, rent-free, so they could save up. I gave them my lifetime of love. And in return, he was planning to take the only things I had left, my house, my freedom, and my dignity. The next day, I cried. Oh, you better believe I cried. I cried for the son that I'd lost and for the fool that I had been. But I didn't cry for long, because my husband taught me something before he passed. You never, ever let anyone take away your dignity. It was time to get mine back. I went into my husband's old study, to the safe where we kept all our important papers. And tucked under the deed to our house, I found it, a loan application for $45,000. My house had been put up as collateral, and there, at the bottom of the page, was a forgery of my signature, a signature I had never, ever made. I was shaking, but I wasn't falling apart. Not anymore. I called my cousin Eleanor, who is a retired lawyer, thank God for her, and together we put together a plan. First up, uncover all the fraud. She found proof of everything, the debt, their little conspiracy. Next, secure my assets. I moved every last dime I had to a new secret bank account. Then I changed my will and put my entire estate into a trust they couldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. The victim was gone. I was getting ready for a fight. We scheduled a meeting at a lawyer's office for the next Wednesday. It was me and Eleanor on one side of this big polished table, and Samuel and Valerie on the other. We even had a bank representative there as a witness. It was time.
Time to put all the cards on the table.
My lawyer didn't mess around. She laid out the terms, plain and simple. She told them they had a choice. They could sign an agreement right then and there, giving up all claims to my house, committing to repay the $45,000 loan and be out of the property in 7 days, or the alternative. If they refused to sign, I was going to the police the very next morning to file criminal charges for fraud.
So after this really tense private chat, Valerie comes back with a counteroffer. And you are not going to believe this. She demanded $20,000 in compensation to sign the papers and leave my house. Compensation? For what? For the stress of trying to steal my home? I just looked her right in the eye and said, no, you're not getting one more dollar from me.
And that's when my son looked at me, his eyes all filled with tears. This stranger sitting across from me, he asks the one question he thinks is going to save him. He was testing me, hoping to find that old mom who always forgave, who always put him first no matter what.
And in that moment, I knew I had to love myself more than I loved the guilt he was trying to lay on me. I looked him dead in the eye and I said, yes, I would, because I am not the mother who forgives everything anymore. I am a woman who defends herself. And if that means losing you, then so be it. They signed the papers.
They were gone in less than a week. They packed up their stuff, and a moving truck came and took away all the fancy furniture they'd bought with my stolen money. And as I watched that truck drive away, the house became completely silent. And for the first time in months, that silence felt like peace. And slowly, I started to take my life back. The first thing I did, I put my beautiful burgundy curtains back up. I restarted my sewing classes, and my living room was suddenly filled with laughter and creativity again. I even started therapy at 68 years old. And my cousin Alana and I, we started taking these little road trips, just making up for lost time. The house, it finally felt like my home again.
You know, my therapist told me something that it explained my entire life. She said, love is shining together. When someone asks you to dim your light so they can shine, that's not love. That's abuse. For so long, I thought being a good mother meant making myself smaller so my son could be bigger. I was wrong.
About 3 months later, Samuel called. Turns out, as soon as Valerie realized the money was gone for good, so was she. He was alone, working in a mechanic shop, and he sounded truly remorseful. We met for coffee, on neutral ground, and I saw a man who was genuinely trying to rebuild his life from the ground up. Eventually, he started coming for Sunday dinner, not as a resident, but as a guest. We started over.
Forgiveness, for me, it wasn't about erasing what happened. It was about allowing for a new kind of future, one built on honesty and real consequences. The biggest victory wasn't getting my house back. It was finding myself again.
I think this whole story really comes down to one powerful truth. It is never too late to defend your dignity. It doesn't matter who's hurting you, even if it's your own family. Your life, your home, your peace, that is yours. And no one, absolutely no one, has the right to take that away from you.